Hello and welcome to week 3 of Let's Race with Cone. This week we are in the Mclaren once again, and we're back in the Grand Am series at Watkins Glen. This is the full circuit with the boot and the bus stop or inner loop. So this week's a little different. This is a track that I am very familiar with, really. We're going to hop right into my first practice session, which was an extended session because I actually really enjoyed running this track, and I just kind of really put a focus on trying to put down some good times. So here's a tour of the track. If you're not familiar with it, we're coming up the S's, turns 2 and 3. It's all flat out, and pretty much any car you run here, depending on how fast it is, it's a varying degree of scary. But here would come down to what is referred to as either the bus stop or the inner loop. Right there I actually got left side tires in the grass, which is easy to do. The whole section, it's easy to really get a little bit offline and get yourself in a lot of trouble. But it leads into the carousel, and we're going to go straight here and into the boot. So come down this left-hander, get you into the boot. And this is where there's a lot of elevation change in the course that you wouldn't see on the NASCAR circuit. We come through the toe of the boot here. Uphill, very hard to get on the throttle there and keep it on both sides of the line. You'll either want to push out or spin out. Way back down, slowest turn of the track, it's the slowest turn of the boot. And then you enter back onto what would be the NASCAR circuit. Very slow turn, again uphill, hard to get on the throttle. Now this apex there and shows how apex sensitive this track is. It's really important to hit your marks. You come down the front stretch and down into turn 1. To put it right down, I've got 3 areas of the track where it's critical to get the most out of it, more so than areas that are difficult. First up here is the bus stop. I call it the bus stop stomp because you want to get on the brakes and slow down enough that you can coast through the entire bus stop and be kind of part throttle and get back to the gas sooner. Next up is the toe of the boot. Toe of the boot really threw me off to begin with, especially in this car. And here's an example of that. I was wanting to get back to the gas too soon because it felt like you were just kind of idle for too long, but it really messes up your run coming up the hill. So this is later on in that same practice session, but you'll see what I mean about the center of the turn. So right here, your gut is to get back on the gas. And if you wait just a little bit, you can really rock it up out of there and get a good run down the straightaway. Okay, lastly is turn 9, or the turn that takes you back to the NASCAR circuit. You're coming uphill, and you turn left here, and as I called it, it's just a sea of asphalt. It's really easy to swing out wide to try and arc this turn, but I found that to not really work for me, so I've been hugging this line, keeping that tire on the concrete to get a good launch out of there, otherwise you'll end up spinning the rear tires. So here we go later on in practice. Only 16 laps further in, and I had both found a setup that I will link to in the description and a line around here that was really consistent enough that I could start pushing it harder in turns to make time. So here we come up on the bus stop. Really on the brakes, but not so much to upset the car. You really want to be coasting through that turn. So as I said earlier, this is a track that I'm familiar with, and I'm familiar with it both in the fact that I've run the Mustang Challenge here, and in the fact that I've run NASCAR 2003 when it was the Trans Am mod was real popular. I ran a league in that mod, and this was one of the tracks that I always really excelled at. And I don't know what it is about it, but it fits my driving style really well, I think. So this is the turn I still feel the least comfortable about. It just seems like you're never fully getting the most you could out of the car, because if you push too hard, it just spins around faster than you can even think to respond to it. This turn, compared to how it is in the Mustang, is a breeze in this car. Alrighty, so now we jump into qualifying, and in practice I had gotten down to running consistent 148s, but that was really, I don't know, kind of not as fast as I felt I could go. My optimal time, as you see here, is a 147.2, and a 147.2 would put me really high up in Division 3. But a 148, a low 148 would put me about mid-pack, and I would be overall happy with that. So here we are coming down to my first hot lap. You can see I'm kind of taking it easy, but there's a fine line here between pushing and pushing so hard that you're actually losing time. And in turns like turn 1, in turns like bus stop, if you push too hard, you'll lose way more time than you would have gained. That's a pretty timid run through there, actually. I mean, it looked kind of wild, but you can push it a lot harder than that. Coming out of the carousel here, I felt like that was a great turn there, and launched me into the boot. So at this point, I'm on track to run a 147. Run through the toe there. But oddly enough, I kind of screwed up that turn there, and that's one that I pretty much have been bulletproof through. But just getting my brain set in qualifying mode is enough to sometimes make the easy turns the hardest turns. So focused on trying to get turns like the toe of the boot, turn 9 right. It's easy to forget how to do the easier turns. But that gives me a 148.1, which is a pretty respectable time, and if that's what I ended up with, I'd be pretty pleased with it. So coming off of that lap, I'm pretty pumped up, and I think that this is going to be the lap that's going to put me in that 147 range, because I'm at the lowest fuel possible. I mean, there's maybe 0.2 gallons left in it at the end of this lap. So I was pushing about as hard as I could possibly push here. As you can see, just being a little bit too fast through there put me offline, which messes up the whole run down the carousel and into the beginning of the boot here. And within the blink of an eye, suddenly we're half a second behind. You can see there that bit of tail happiness that you get when you're trying to get back on the gas up the hill. trying to make up the time that I lost earlier. I'm now pushing harder and losing even more time just by pushing too hard and trying to make up time in places where maybe there isn't time to be made up. So you can see, that was it. Already running out of gas right there. So I get back up to speed, put a little bit more fuel in the car. This is going to be the last try I'll get in this session. I got about 2 laps of fuel left, and I've got about enough time to make 2 laps. So I'm pushing as hard as I can. You can see how close I came to the wall there through the S's. Actually locked up the rear tires a little bit there. Got a little wheel hop into the bus stop, but overall still a pretty good run. A little bit loose into the carousel. There's the checker flag there. So this is it. This is the only lap I'm going to get, or the last lap I'm going to get in this session. I'm on track to run a pretty good time. Sloppy on the shifting there. But overall, really good sector 4, which I felt is the hardest one. But got away from me there, and that kind of ruined the lap. But it was still going to be quicker up until here. And that's it. That's out of fuel and out of time. But I'm still pretty pleased with that. If you see here in this session, that was actually really good amongst the McLarens. And overall, it puts me, at this moment, 10th of 18. So now it's time for the race. So that does it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the race, which, if you saw in the beginning there, is an 80-minute endurance race, one of 2 in the schedule for this series.